better equipped to deal with it than she was. I have to say, as a parent, I missed a lot of things. I didn't really understand what was happening to her. I didn't have the tools to properly help her. And she felt the same. We were both at a loss. I knew something was wrong. But sometimes you don't understand the difference between just normal teenage development and a real problem. I didn't understand the warning signs. So she was brave enough to share her story. I'm really fast forwarding, but as her career took off, she used to talk about her issues and problems on stage, with young people off stage, all around the world. And her story really resonated with young people. We learned the power of storytelling. We learned how healing it was, that they were learning, they were feeling empowered and inspired and saying, Gaga, how did you do it? How did you overcome these issues? And how can we be part of a change? And how can we help? And that's how the foundation was born. And to this day, we work every day very hard on making kindness cool, on validating the emotions of young people around the world, and on eliminating the stigma around mental health. And her story resonated so much that other young people told us their stories. We curated hundreds, if not thousands, of stories from around the world, young people. And in 2017, just realized the urgency of, of building a platform that's a safe space where young people are heard and understood and validated, where they could share their stories. And that became Channel Kindness, a digital platform in 2017. And as that grew, we just realized the urgency of putting those stories out there. And that ultimately became this lovely book, this anthem, as you will, to young people. So that's how this all came about. It came about from a painful
Mhm.
story that my daughter was brave enough to share.
Mhm. And also that even that vulnerability to tell your story, and she does. She just completely opens herself up
Yeah.
about everything. And so that invites people in and they have the same things, a lot of them or some of them. So that was a real strong point, I thought, in the story, that she just was able to say, here's what, here's what I've been through. And it
Yeah.
was a lot. And she's
Thank you
still
for
working on it.
thank you for saying that because I don't know about you, but the way that I grew up in a really small town in West Virginia, and I call these intergenerational differences, right? I grew up where our family didn't really talk about these things, and we were just kind of expected to be tough and the time of true grit where you just snap out of it and get on with things.
Mhm.
And so I didn't always feel, equipped. And when she started being so open and vulnerable, I didn't really understand it. I said, "Why are you being so private in public?"
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
realized that she was really helping both herself, and other young people.
Mhm.
But it has had a lasting imprint on her life because it led to so many other things. The anxiety leads to depression. It leads to feeling like you have no value. It led to destructive behaviors. It just snowballed. And, took a confident young woman and made her feel insecure and not valued. And
Mhm.
she cares a great deal about self care. She works on this every day and will continue, I think, for the rest of her life. But I mean, Scarlett, these tragedies leave an indelible, really indelible and sometimes erasable impression. I think that we can always overcome things. And I'm proud of her for what she's overcome, but
Mhm.
it's still sitting on her shoulder.
Mhm.
And I think you made a really good point, Cynthia, because I know with social and emotional learning, social emotional intelligence, the deep understanding of relationships and connection and emotional management and resilience, these are all skills and tools that we have to learn. So if we didn't learn them at school and or in home, we don't necessarily have the skills and tools. And I got to be an adult and didn't have these skills and tools. And it's not that my parents didn't love me.
She always apologizes to me.
No, I'm just saying but I will
It's
say,
not
it's not that you didn't love me.
Oh, no.
You know, you were there, but you didn't have them to give to me. And by the way, I didn't have them to give to my boys. And it was literally just, you know, when after Jesse's murder, and then I started researching a solution, and I realized immediately, wow, I don't have these skills and tools. And so I started learning them as an adult. That's why our programming is lifespan and really important for families. And we have a wonderful family component for parents, because, you know, if there's no shame in the fact that you didn't learn these skills and tools, you're not born with them. And so you can learn them at any age, and you can, they really are helpful, not only to handle, you know, your own difficulty and roadblocks and challenges, but you can also help your kids too.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I was just saying, I think it also makes a difference in the choices that you make. I mean, you
Yes.
and I both know that at the heart of this is mental health and getting help. And we do a lot of research at Born This Way Foundation, and we know that the greatest deterrent to young people getting help is they don't know where to go. They don't know what the resources are. They are concerned about the quality of them, the affordability. It's almost a last resort. The first thing they do is they like try to fix it themselves with self-care, or they'll talk to a friend, or, you know, there's so many other things that they try to do first. And it's almost like, you know, real quality medical attention is the last resort. So like to your point, we know what a difference it can make if they have the proper tools, or like social emotional learning, if they just knew how to regulate their emotions and have a better relationship and know how to cope, it could make a difference in the choices that they make in their lives.
Mhm. Oh, definitely.
And I think too, Cynthia, to your point too, is that how you're trying to break through that stigma of the mental health issues, that people still are sometimes, or you know, young adults are afraid to speak up. And then the thing is, some of these kids have these feelings, but they don't understand really what they're going through or what their feelings are if they're not open with their parents or speaking up, or they'll go
Feel
to
alone, yeah.
they'll feel alone. They're going to friends who the friends might not know how to help them. So I think that this is a conversation that really needs to be broadened. And as like you said, as Gaga is doing, she's raising awareness, getting people to talk. She's talking about her story, and I think they feel comfortable saying, if she can do it, she's such a role model for these kids out there, that and adults too, I think, you know, that identify with her and say, look what she's been through and she can open up. Look what I'm going through. I can do the same, and empowers them. And I think that's what we need to do.
I think so too. And, you know, and I think, you know, tools, you know, like this book even, are ways of pointing young people in a direction where, you know, these stories are written by young people, by their peers, where they can learn what made a difference in their life. So I couldn't agree with you more on that.
I actually said that. I thought this book should be taught in schools, where students would each take a story and just say how, you know, explain the story, tell what happened, and what helped solve it and how it relates to them. I just thought it was very open, very honest, as I said, very vulnerable, which takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable. It's very strong. So
Especially when you're so public, you know, I mean, everybody knows her story now,
Right,
and
right.
it is a painful one.
Yeah, especially if you're, I mean, she almost has some sort of covering because she is so famous. But little kids that are in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade, and they're not, you know, they don't have that, they're not famous, they don't have that glitter, but for them to open up and say what they've been through, and have even their friends, I think friends can help. I mean, then you do find out who your friends are, you know, that's for sure. But I love the book. I just thought it would be very helpful. I thought it should be in
Their stories
schools.
could go right here. I
Yes.
loved this, the back
Yeah.
page where you could add your own story
Right.
and your story could be a part of this too.
Right.
And the fact that you could write in and it left so many,
Spaces.
areas, spaces that you could write in
Mhm.
to remember things
Mhm.
and pull things out was just really amazing. I wanted to tell you, Cynthia, because I'm trying to monitor the chat as I'm talking with you. I just wanted to give a little shout out to Jessie Saperstein, who is sitting right now with Amy, who lives with a chromosomal disorder called deletion 22q. She's watching alongside. She's a huge supporter of ending bullying and also a fan of Lady Gaga. She's just holding up her vinyl record from the soundtrack of A Star Is Born. And yay. So Jesse is working with the Choose Love movement, but he's an author of 2 books with Penguin Group about his personal journey with autism. And he's just saying Lady Gaga shows how someone who is flamboyantly different and wonderful could make it into mainstream acceptance. The path will be paved for others and lives will be saved for those who are thinking of giving up in the worst way possible. He says, Scarlett and Cynthia, you are an example of how to use anguish as a catalyst. Thank you, Jesse. I love that. I wanted to make sure that you heard that, Cynthia. And thank you, Amy. I'm so happy that you're listening and contributing. Thank you.
A lot of comments.
Yeah, that's great. There are lots of really wonderful comments. And everyone, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. We have a question from Allegra Jordan. Allegra Jordan is also part of the Choose Love movement. She's actually one of my partners at Choose High Performance. This is where we offer what we offer to businesses. And Allegra says, we recently learned about Britney Spears' life and we were profoundly impacted by her pain and by being in the entertainment business. How have you, as a mother, experienced so many entertainers only now talking about their mental health challenges? Thank you for speaking up, for speaking out. And your daughter is amazing, especially her Star Spangled Banner.
Thank you. The question was, how have I experienced other entertainers speaking out?
Yes, about their mental health challenges. How have you, as a mother, experienced so many entertainers only now talking about their mental health challenges and probably following your daughter's example?
Well, this is such an urgent matter, and we are so grateful for all of the stories that are coming out. I do, of course, a lot of young people, they all have their entertainers they love. And I think that when, somebody that can model behavior like that speaks out, it's very powerful and it's very healing. And I know the stories that I've been reading in terms of my experience, a lot of them are different, and it's causing people from different walks of life to also open up and talk about their struggles and get help. So, it can only help. The more of us that speak out, the better.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, and we had this conversation on the podcast, Cynthia, and it's something that you said that has stayed with me, and I talk about it all the time, and I attribute it to you. You were talking about how this mandate of social distancing can be so damaging to us. And you talked about how you at the Born This Way Foundation, how you all looked at social distancing. Do you want to share that with us? Because I love it.
Yeah, sure. But I also want to comment on your, talking about the people speaking out now. And I want to address one other thing about that. There was a surge in a lot of issues, mental health, anxiety, depression, even before the pandemic. And then I think during the pandemic, we've seen a huge light that's now shining on mental health, which I call the second pandemic, because the surge is incredible. A CDC study this past summer showed that 1 in 4 young people considered suicide in over a 30-day period last summer, which is astounding and completely unacceptable. I am grateful for the light that is shining now on mental health. But it's unfortunate it's happening in this way. And I also think that's why you're seeing more stories, that are coming about. And also back to school, young people going back to school. We did a research study with Chegg that more than half of the students are worried about their mental health. So during the pandemic, when you and I first spoke, I think it was earlier on, and we talked about social distancing, we referred to it as staying physically distanced, but socially connected, because of the importance of maintaining a connection so that you don't feel isolated, that you don't feel removed from your peers, society, your friends and family. Even though we physically are, we can remain socially connected in so many ways, whether it's Zoom or the telephone, writing letters, many, many different ways to do that. And I'm sure, Aisha, I don't know if you, any stories that you would maybe like to share about ways that you've heard young people staying connected through the Channel Kindness stories.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, I think, Scarlett, your mom so eloquently said, it takes so much vulnerability and bravery to tell these stories. And every time when we were doing our virtual book tour, that was something that all these young authors were really eager to talk about, were their stories, and knowing that it could help somebody else, which I think says volumes about the courage that they all have, and the want just to be kind and help others while they are sharing their stories. In regards of staying connected now, I think something that we do for all of our team meetings is at the foundation is we kind of just touch base every once in a while with like a fun kind of focus question, just share some memories and try to do some prompts, some writing prompts. We send a lot of thank you cards. I think that's a great one, especially with seniors right now, people who are isolated, people who are struggling with their mental health. So like some quick examples, Solely Sunshine, which is an organization by this California teen who wanted to help those who were struggling with their mental health. And so she decided to put out this call for letters that have folks encouraging folks to write letters to people who were struggling. And another one of the ones we love at the foundation is Love for the Elderly, which all the letters go straight to those people who are experiencing isolation right now. So I would totally just encourage the letter writing all the way. I think that's such a great human way to kind of just feel something in your hand, something that's physical, and to know that someone's thinking about you, and to know that you're also just spreading kindness at the same time.
I have to totally agree with that. It's so funny. I mailed a letter the other day and I thought, I just love the post office. I hope it doesn't disappear. I mean, it was so crazy, but knowing that, there's a stamp on it, I buy pretty stamps. And I just totally agree with the physicality of getting a letter and opening it and knowing someone wrote it in their handwriting, maybe was awful that day, like mine can be good or bad. But I mean, it just means so much more than a text, or it's more effort for one thing. But
and you're
yeah.
so good about doing it, and I'm not good. I'm realizing.
Well, I think it's almost generational. That's why, you were talking about generations, but that's why I think it's interesting that you all are doing it and promoting it.
Yeah.
Because
really nice.
People don't do it very much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I loved about all the stories in the book, especially that one of the first stories was about the cup of coffee, and just that person realizing, wow, I'm just kind of making someone's day so simply just to ask how you are. And I thought that was just such a great reminder, because we're always going through life, we're busy, and now we're all living in fear and concern because of the pandemic. And, just those simple things, and we can't really smile with our masks, but, we can still, hold the door for someone. We can still, say something nice and encouraging, because we don't know what someone else is going through, especially now with everything that we're facing with the second pandemic. And I love that way that you said that, Cynthia. You're so right that we're facing this together. And that's what I loved about this book, is there was really powerful stories, but then there are really simple stories that just remind us of our human connection. So I was just curious how these stories were picked and woven in, because it just, I don't know, they all flow together so nicely. And bravo to all of you for doing that. It's something that you could pick up, put down, and I'm just, constantly inspired. So I really was wondering how you decided to piece them all together.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll just tee this up, and then I'm going to let Aisha take that question. But um, first, I agree with you. I love this story, the book and all the stories. There's 51 stories that were selected out of hundreds. Somebody once asked me my favorite, and I said they're all equally unique and important and powerful and so meaningful. So and just the fact that they are written by young people, and there's so much good going on in the world that we don't know about. I think quite often young people are viewed as, some problems looking for solutions at times, and like a disengaged generation, but they're so hopeful and aspirational and want to make a difference and make change in their communities. So I'm so inspired by it. And Aisha was so instrumental in that process of choosing them. So I think she is best to tell you that story.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. So I beyond agree, and just to echo Cynthia, they're all equally important and unique and powerful. And I think it was also just important for us to have stories that reflected the very diverse audience that we serve, and the very diverse generations that are coming before us and after us. And so when you look at the types of stories we have dealing with, LGBTQ issues, with the environment, with activism. And so something we have kind of started to learn recently, and I think that's very well said in this book, is that kindness is advocacy. It is active. You're doing something active. It's never passive. Yeah, exactly. And I think even with Scarlett, with your story, and you look at the kindness of young people, right? You're never too young to be kind or start that kindness.
Yeah.
And I think it's just we wanted these stories just to cover all these different topics. And your Scarlett speaks so eloquently to forgiveness and what it means for, children to be kind, and how we can help spread that kindness through their legacy. And I think just having all these different perspectives of kindness really pulls this book together so beautifully. And we were just so excited, again, Scarlett, just to have your involvement as well. So thank you so much. I think your book your story, is just one of the ones that really just hones in on forgiveness and kindness when it comes to family and what that means.
Thank you, Aisha. I really appreciate that. I wanted to give a little comment from Mary Haley. I want to keep everybody in the chat a part of the conversation as well. Mary Haley is our Connecticut Choose Love ambassador, and she says the book is a great tool for us adults to use as a mentor to listen to the younger generation and what they're bringing to our attention. The underlying message I clearly hear is, quote, "Love has no identity. We each blend into one lovable humanity," end quote. Thank you, Born This Way, for demonstrating a welcoming spirit. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
That's a wonderful comment. And I would like her to know that it was important to my daughter when we formed the foundation that the youth voice be front and center in our work, that they were part of the creation of the foundation. They remain part of the creation of our programs. We have focus groups. We've had youth advisors. She wanted them to feel like they own this movement and that they're really part of it. And I'm so proud of her for that. I think it's been a very unique approach, including my daughter stepping up when she was only 25 years old when, she asked to start the foundation. So, but having their voice heard, they're such change makers and want to do good. And I mean, look at, I'll bring up another, Parkland. Okay, the youth at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, they were older, Scarlett, right? But they took matters in their own hands to create change in their communities. And these are the kinds of stories that need to be told. And they're not always getting out there. I mean, that case was very unique, and those young people rose up to make a difference. But we just feel it's so urgent to shine the light on these stories and show what young people are capable of when they're given a safe platform and the right support to do it.
I think it's so important to give, them a platform for their voices, because I'll tell you, more and more when I was visiting schools, I would have students that were there. Even if I was presenting to educators, there might be a group of students that said school security on their t-shirts, and they would be present even when I was speaking to educators, because they were interested, and it's their security that is on the line as well. And the comments that they would make just blew me away. They think kind of outside the box, and they would have, in fact, I remember being so blown away that I had one, I think my first or second podcast were youth from a school that I visited. I said, wow, you guys have some incredible ideas, and they're ideas that I never thought of. So I just want to give you, like Born This Way does, I want to get your voices heard. And so actually Choose Love is we're also starting youth ambassadors. So they're doing a sizzle video, and they're going to be having a voice now as far as youth for Choose Love, because this is their world that we're coming up on. We're leaving it to them, and they need to have a say. They should have a say. They have an incredible voice. They've had incredible experiences. They've endured incredible pain, and they've learned incredible lessons. And so, to have something like this is really, really a gift, to be able to hear them and to learn from them.
I have to say, this was an eye opener for me. I had no idea that there were this many kids, and you say thousands applied stories, trying to help other people and be kind. It was just really, this whole little section of people actually exists, because you only hear the bad things,
That's
the
a really
anger.
good point.
And here was this, and of course I'm not really as involved as you are in going traveling and everything, but I had no idea that kids were doing this. And this wasn't just kids, but I mean, it was
Young adults.
It was an eye opener. It was very hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because the media a lot of times just tells us what's wrong,
Inflammatory,
but what's wrong, and that speaks to our negative bias, because we want to be safe, and so to have
we want to be
something
agitated.
yeah, well, we don't, but
No.
but then to have something like this, that shows, no, there are lots of youth that are out there that are doing incredible things,
Right,
and lots of organizations. I mean, this book is filled with organizations that
And
are
not really starting to the intention to be on a platform. I mean, they just started because they saw a need,
Yes.
and they wanted to respond to that and help do something positive.
Right.
And then they got the platform, hopefully, but not always.
No, but that's exactly right. I mean, it started just out of goodness and a desire to help and make a difference and create change. And I don't think in their wildest dreams, right, Aisha, that any of them imagined being published.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the authors and the organizations, I think when we were at that point in the book process, we were letting these organizations know they were going to be involved in the book. They were just in awe and just like extremely like they're so gracious. And for real though, it was like one of those things we were so grateful for. Like you're helping so many people, you've helped so many people, and we hope you continue to help these people. We hope to bring more people to your organization so they can feel like they are getting that mental health support they need, so that they feel like they are getting any resources, any tools. And so just knowing that more people will be helped, and including these organizations who are truly, like you said, just at their heart and just genuinely just want to do good. We were so excited to just highlight them and amplify their voices.
Mhm.
So Dee Dee Thurber is also a Choose Love ambassador, and she says that we are using the book to open our staff meetings at school. We read one story at the beginning of our meetings. The stories are inspiring and help us to keep on the path of loving. Oops, it just went down. Whoops. Oh, we've got the stories are inspiring and help us to keep on the path of loving and inspiring our young students.
It's true.
That is incredible to hear, that it's helping then not only the teachers, but also the students as well. And I know Aisha's doing a lot of work in schools now related to the book. So Aisha, I'm sure that's really helpful and pleasing information for you to hear.
Oh yes, I am so I am so grateful to hear that. And also it's just awesome to hear that, again, it's a students and it's teachers and students, and it's not just for one generation, it's for everyone. We can all learn from each other. And I think that's just another message of the book. It truly doesn't matter how old you are. Kindness is a universal language. We can all understand it.
And I also think one of the most difficult things I think about stigma is having the conversation. And what I'm hearing you say is that something like this book is a conversation breaker for them, between themselves and also students. You know, if you read this together and then discuss it, it's a way of having a conversation, kind of a little bit of a roadmap to doing that. So just great to hear that it's been an effective tool for that kind of communication.
It's personal stories, and personal stories always catch people's attention. You know, you're learning about that person, what they went through, and then discussing it and how they came out. And I say that to Scarlett when she does, you know, her speaking, that her audience just gets quiet when it is her personal story. I mean, they're quiet anyway, but I mean, there's a different quiet. Have you noticed that too, Alexis? I mean,
yeah, totally. And I've been lucky enough to be in some in-person presentations with Scarlett, of course, on the past year, and seeing how the audiences react. And, you know, sometimes when they're coming in the rest of, you know, hustle bustle and whatnot, you know, at the end of a school day or whatnot, and then they hear Scarlett speak, and it, you know, it's profound effect, you know, that they're, wow, this is not a typical professional development workshop, you know, this is inspirational story and something that we'll get out of it. I think that's, just to agree with everyone, that's what this book does. It starts a conversation and it helps you start understanding the power that kindness can have from being so simple. And that's one other thing that I loved in some of the stories, is that it was kind of like they followed along for so many years, like, oh, you know, years later, and they're still doing this, or now it's a 501c3 nonprofit, you know, just started as like a small idea and now it's exploded. I love seeing that because it shows, especially young people, this is what's possible. You might have this small little idea and you might think, oh, I won't make a difference. But if you just start small, you will make a difference. And here's all these examples, like across all like industries. And it just was great. People taking their passions and doing something different. And that was so inspiring, I think.
when you think about it, even if you just do, sorry, Pam, even if you just do one thing to one person, we talk about the ripple effect.
Yeah.
I mean, even that, not a whole audience, just one person starts something, you know?
Now, I was just going to ask Cynthia if you had like a tip or so for parents, because you said that you grew up in a different, you know, different era, like I did, different era from Alexis, different times, you know, times have changed so much. And you said you weren't, you know, as open, and some parents aren't, they're very closed off. Is there a tip that you can offer that how parents can break through or feel comfortable themselves having that conversation, and to get past that of like, oh, I see my child might be having an issue. How do I approach them? Or how did you do that with Gaga or your other daughter? If she had issues, how did you have the, the incentive to break through that and start talking?
No, sure. I'll tell you a couple of things. A few of the things I'm going to say are actually from the research that we conduct. We do a lot of research with young people. So the feedback I'm about to give you is from both young people and parents, which was a very interesting couple of studies that we did. But a couple of things that really resonate with young people is when their parents model the kind of behavior that they're looking for. So whether that's kindness, talking about your own mental health struggles. One of the reasons a lot of young people don't talk to their parents is because their parents don't share anything with them about their own struggles. And we know we all have them, but I think we think as parents that we're supposed to be, present this very strong and resilient front when we're in pain too sometimes. And it's okay to share that with your children. It helps them also open up. So sharing your own struggles, modeling the kind of behavior. We also know from young people that another reason they don't talk to their parents about their issues is they feel judged. And so trying to listen and really understand and validate their emotions without judging them. And my personal story is my daughter, Gaga, who I call Steffi, had some really difficult times on one of her tours. And as a parent, I went right into like fix it mode, like protect and fix. So her father and I were like, well, let's take a walk. Maybe you need to get out. So we did. We got out of the hotel. We went for this lovely 30-minute walk, and we talked to her the whole time about things that we thought she should do. And we came back and she said, Mom, that was lovely, but it's not at all what I wanted. I just wanted you to listen to me and tell me that my feelings were valid. And I just wanted to be acknowledged that I'm allowed to have these terrible feelings that I'm having. But instead, her dad and I went into this just trying to fix things, because we're protectors, I think, as parents. We're just naturally protectors and fixers. So that was actually on my personal story, but that also came out in our research, that it's important to listen and validate, what your children are telling you. Now, then more practically, any kind of family venue that makes you all comfortable is great for starting that conversation, whether it's movie night, a family dinner, bowling, something that you all enjoy doing together that creates an environment where you can maybe have a couple of conversations about this. And I would also suggest, when you do talk about, another great place is when you're talking to them about their health, especially physical health, or young girls with menstruating, or that's the perfect moment to talk about mental health. So you're talking about total wellness is your physical as well as your mental health and any other issues that you might be having. So I think that's another great place when you're just talking about health in general. I have the privilege of serving as ambassador for the World Health Organization for mental health. And we say there is no health without mental health. And I just personally feel we need to start talking to our children about that very, very early. My daughter says, just because you can't see it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And we know, Scarlett, we know the pain that young people are experiencing, and you can't see it. So it's up to us to try to bring that out as best as possible. I hope that's a little bit helpful.
That was amazing. That was amazing. I love that you guys, I'm taking notes on all of your research.
We can send you the link, Scarlett, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank
Really
you.
helpful. We have another question from Allegra, and this is really interesting. She says, sometimes Scarlett has leaders tell us choosing love won't work here. we don't agree, but we get resistance. Where have you seen resistance, and how does your team overcome resistance?
So are you saying that you'll be talking to leaders at an organization and they're saying that love won't work there?
Yeah, like I know it's amazing. I mean, as I'm
Trying
saying
to
it, I'm
get my
like,
head around that.
kindness, but that does exist, and people, people have actually the most unlikely person you could ever imagine. Oh yeah, said love. That's kind of corny. That's not going to work here in our schools.
Choose love.
Yeah.
No,
But we have had resistance. I'm just curious if kindness has resistance.
sometimes you get the roll your eyes, because kindness can be perceived as this mushy, thing. When in fact, we know how powerful it is and what a connection there is between kindness and mental health. I mean, young people that report being in kind environments are proven to be mentally healthier. So some of the resistance we've gotten is around things like that. So for example, schools or parents that might be teaching kids to be tough, like during sports or with their grades, or in corporations where tough leadership, right? But you can be a great athlete or leader, and still do it with compassion and kindness, and recognize that you're talking to another human being. Being a tough leader doesn't mean that you are hard, right? So, and I think it's the same with love, that there's, you know, kindness and love are something that we all have to offer. As my daughter says, kindness is it's free, but it's priceless, right? And the same with love. You can't put a price on it. And we know what healing power both of those have. So we certainly understand where you're coming from. Aisha, I don't know if you or Josh, Maya, if you're on, if you want to add anything further to some things we may have encountered.
Yeah, I'll just say, and I'm sorry for my phone just ringing at the exact moment where I just unmuted my mic. But I will say, yeah, that's definitely something we've gotten, and similar to the love, like a corny, mushy kind of, it won't work kind of situation. But I feel that folks who say that, especially maybe even young people who are in, high school or middle school, where it may not be cool to be like kind or loving, I feel like those are people who are hurting the most. I feel like you are most unkind when you are hurting, and for that reason I think it's even more incentive to be even kinder to those people, because it sounds like they're just having a difficult time in their life. And so I just kind of view it as an opportunity to prove them wrong. Let's kind of overwhelm them with kindness. And I mean, on a personal note, I used to get bullied a lot when I was growing up, and so I found that just being kind back to people who are maybe not being so kind, eventually they start to, everyone's human. So they're going to kind of realize, hey, maybe this doesn't feel so nice. This doesn't feel so great. So my philosophy of just kind of overwhelm them with kindness and love, just I think goes a long way.
That's definitely the stronger response, right?
Yeah.
I think it is.
And love and kindness is acknowledging humanity, right? And what else is working? I mean, whoever's saying that to you, what else is working in their environment? So I think trying these things, which aren't, it's not difficult to implement, like our programs and your programs. You have a free program. Our programs are free and they're valuable. So it's worth implementing them and seeing what benefit there is to them.
And I think that's
let the young people tell you. That's what I say. Let the young people tell you.
And I think that's a really good point that, as you said, I kind of think pandemic. Okay, I know the COVID is technically a pandemic, but then what would you call anxiety that almost half of our US youth will have had by the time they're 18, what would you call the suicide rate? What would you call the substance abuse rate? What would you call the bullying rate that has actually
Alcoholism.
increased since we started officially tracking it in 2003 by the federal government? Bullying, and that's traditional bullying, that's not cyberbullying because we don't really have a handle on that. What would you call substance abuse in our country? Like pandemic times something. And you're right. We keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And what we've been doing is addressing the symptoms and the problem. And I think what love and kindness do is we address the cause. And therefore we can reduce and prevent that suffering before it happens. So Aisha said something that responded to a question, but I did want to just kind of give voice to Jesse's question. He asked, how does Lady Gaga deal with the haters or people who always find something wrong with her every single action? I refer to those types of bullies. Jesse had shared some of his really horrific bullying that he has endured in his life. He referred to those types of bullies as the finders. They will constantly find something wrong no matter what happens. Usually those individuals are in the greatest amount of anguish and need another human host to direct their sadness, and almost like a virus of negativity. And that is so true. And that's what we teach in Choose Love, actually, because we know the majority of people that bully have been bullied themselves. They're trying to off-put their pain onto somebody else. So kind of as Aisha says, if you understand that, and you could almost even feel compassion for them, or at least thoughtfully respond with kindness because you know that it's coming from a place of pain, then you're coming from a point of strength for sure.
And that's where my daughter comes from. She does understand that because she was on the receiving end. So she confronts it with compassion and with kindness and with trying to understand that that person is also hurting as well. And so she takes the high road, so to speak. I think that's what they call it.
Yeah.
I really admire her for doing that, because some of the haters, it has been really very, very hateful things. People that you don't expect it to come from, like that you thought were your friends, or just unexpected places. But I mean, that's it. She takes the high road and reaches out and tries to understand them and what she can do to help them.
So we had somebody ask if there were opportunities to volunteer for Born This Way.
And okay, yes, there we have. First, we have, if you go to bornthisway.foundation, there's a number of programs and some ways to engage. But I think I would also like to engage Aisha and have her talk about how to get involved in Channel Kindness, for example, and some other areas.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, channelkindness.org is our storytelling platform. So I would definitely invite you just to check it out and submit a story. I think a lot of y'all work with youth or students. I'd invite you to share these guidelines with them and just invite them to share their stories, and you all as well. Some other stuff that we're doing right now for our programming, we partnered with Find Your Anchor. And so we have our Please Stay pledge. So right now, as we've been talking about mental health right now, it's been, taking a toll on a lot of people, regardless of age. And so we want to encourage people to stay here, stay with us. Everyone's voice is so important. Everyone's life is so important. And so if you go to pleasestay.us, you will see our Please Stay resource, and it provides you with some toolkits, with some anchors. We call anchors things that help us stay grounded, stay present, and stay here. So it can be anything from your best friend to ice cream. Mine is chocolate chip cookie dough, which is a constant anchor in my life. Yes. And so I encourage you to check that out. Additionally, we encourage you to check out bethere.org. That is our partnership with jack.org. And on this website, it takes 5 minutes to learn how to have a mental health conversation with somebody. And additionally, I would also invite you to check out onchannelkindness.org. There is an article that our brilliant Josh Meredith wrote up about virtual volunteer opportunities. And so these are through our partnerships and just some other opportunities that you can do virtually at this time. And I think that's a great place to start. We really just want to encourage y'all to be kind to yourselves with the Please Stay Pledge and with the BeThere.org. And then be kind to others with these virtual opportunities.
And I'll mention one more, which is called Be Kind 21. We know from research that if you do something for 21 days, it can become a habit. This actually started in schools where there's a school calendar of things to do where you do acts of kindness for 21 days when you're headed back to school. This has taken off. I can't tell you, we've had this campaign for 3 years and have had millions of acts of kindness conducted as a result. One of the biggest ways to, quote, volunteer for us is to learn about our campaigns and then amplify them in your community. So you take Be Kind 21, Channel Kindness, the Please Stay Pledge, our peer-to-peer mental health training, and just amplify it in your organizations and your communities. I mean, that to us is the best way to volunteer. We do have actual volunteers. It's more limited because sometimes it's event driven and we're all, you know, talking to you on Zoom right now. So that, I mean, that I think is the best way. All the great programs Aisha just talked about, just learn about them and populate them to the world.
I think what's great about this too is the idea of even just getting it down, sharing these stories, having the people write it, these youths and anyone, even no matter what age. I think it goes across, you know, age barriers of writing it down, of getting your feelings out. I'm a writer myself, and just writing it down, getting your feelings out. I think that's the key. And I thank you, Cynthia, for, you know, work with the Channel Kindness that people can share their stories there. The Born This Way Foundation, giving people a voice and getting it out there about mental health issues. Josh, you've been great. Aisha has been wonderful. And I know Shadil and Maya might not be on there, but everybody's been so wonderful in your organizations and helping bring this together, and just also getting that conversation going and having people feel freer to get their voices out there and to get the help they need. Then they know where to look for it, because you guys offer so much. And I think that's really what we need to do to help the world right now. And the thing too is, like you said, love for us and everybody, and kindness. It's so easy. And sometimes the little thing, you know, you might be having a bad day. Someone could just say hello or give you that, you know, not really a smile now, but you see it in their eyes sometimes, or those words, and it could make your day just by something simple. I propose that to her, Alexis, and sometimes I'll just write her a quick little note sometimes on a piece of paper, and that'll just be like, wow, Mom, you just, you know, or write something down. And it's the thoughts, it's the kindness, it's the love. And that's what sometimes somebody needs. Like you said, you could just listen, be there to listen and share.
No, I still think it's great between our organizations. You know, we're trying to make such a difference, and, you know, we have the solution. We know this is what people need, and it's all about awareness, amplification. I love that word you used. And yeah, I think that's been great. And there's been some great comments. I saw Allegra from our team said she'll be sharing this book, of course, with the Special Operations Command military family she's working with. I think they'll definitely benefit from these powerful stories. And I would love for everyone on this call to share their stories on Channel Kindness. Like I said, it can be any age, any group. So feel free to do that. This has been wonderful.
Yeah, I love the synergy. It's just wonderful.
Well, we can't do, none of us can do this alone. So,
Exactly.
I mean, Scarlett, these kind of partnerships are so important. We can't thank you enough. And, you know, I really think you said it so beautifully in your article when you talked about, you know, what can we all do to spread this? You talked about taking an angry thought, or, you know, an ugly thought, an angry thought, something negative, and turning it into a loving thought, a kind thought, something beautiful. That's such a collective way that we can try to change our thinking. You try to shift the way that we think about humanity and other people. And you just said it so beautifully. And you have the opportunity to reach young people so early.
Mhm.
And so we're very grateful for Choose Love and what you're doing, and to help young people and to honor your son. And I also hope JT as well. I met him. He was such an incredible young man. And say hi for me.
Oh, I definitely will. He's 20 years old, believe it or not.
21 in 2
20,
months.
oh my gosh, no. So, yeah. Wow. No, he's still like this. He's still like this for me. But Cynthia, a lot of shout outs from the audience about what an incredible mom you are, and how lucky Lady Gaga is to have you and your loving support and your entire team. We are so thankful for all of you and everything that you do, all that you're putting out into the world. I think that it's the most important thing that we can be doing right now, something that is the most needed. And so, I've committed my life, and I know that your daughter and you have as well. And you guys are doing such amazing work. We're so blessed to be a part of it and to be partners with you all and to call you all friends. And just so thankful, and thank you for this gift and for coming on with us and having this beautiful conversation. We are so grateful and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you. We're all so honored. And I know that whoever's here on the team, they're grateful to be here. I've got such a wonderful team, and thank you for all that you're doing. We'll continue doing it together. And I
Yes.
can't wait till we can do something like where we can all really see each other and give each other a hug. That would be
Yes, absolutely.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I
Thank
see
you.
Colleen holding her book up. Yes.
Yay.
Thank you for reading it. And
Thank you so
you've been great
much.
to us. Thank you.
We love you.
Thank you.
You as
Quick
well.
Thank you.
screenshot everyone with your books.
Screenshot. Pick all up your books.
Oh yeah, definitely. Let's get that.
Hold on, I'll take it. Okay, there, I got it. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yeah. Love you.
Love you too. Be well. Talk
Okay.
soon.
Bye-bye.
So much,
Thank you.
Cynthia. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Josh
Thank
and
you.
Aisha.
Aisha, I'll be sending you the recording.
you.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Cynthia.
This has been
Thank you so
fantastic.
Much love.
Be well. Much love.
Thank you. Have a good night.